listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Don't forget Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at DrewDuncan83. Additionally, you can find me on Alexa by just saying, "Hey, Alexa, play the Full Court Press by Drew Duncan on Spreaker Radio." Pop right up, man. You want to know what popped right up right now? Is an ugly trade has reared its head as the Cleveland Cavaliers are trading Isaiah Thomas to the Los Angeles Lakers. By the way, really quick on that, if you want to know what the exact trade was, it's Isaiah Thomas and Channing Frye and the Cleveland Cavaliers' first-round pick in 2018. For the Lakers, Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. And basically what that all equates to is you're getting equal caliber players with the same skill sets. I mean, that's really all you're getting. It's one for the other. The bottom line here is Isaiah Thomas wasn't happy. We knew he wasn't happy. He didn't want to be there in the first place. None of this was his doing. Kyrie was the one who wanted out. The Cleveland Cavaliers saw an opportunity, and they made a trade. They made a trade for a guy that they thought would improve their basketball team. But he didn't want to be there. He doesn't like being there. And I tell you what, if you thought that he had things to say while he was a Cleveland Cavalier, wait to hear the things that he's going to have to say now when he's not a Cleveland Cavalier. You know, the thing that I've been talking about lately with LeBron-James, aside from the fact that I think he should be able to manage his own career the way that he wants to, is whether or not he has that locker room. LeBron is supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be the guy in the NBA. He's supposed to be the guy with the Cavaliers. And that's all there is to it, right? That's what he's supposed to be. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying that's what he's supposed to be. But what he's supposed to be and what he are, or is, I should say, pardon me, are two different things right now. And, you know, I've been talking about this locker room because if LeBron James doesn't have the locker room, then we're going to find out real quick exactly why the Cavaliers are having the type of season that they are. You know, Isaiah Thomas is going to have things to say. And the disrespect for Isaiah Thomas has been very real. Need I remind anybody that this guy, instead of going to his sister's funeral, played in an NBA playoff game and was there side by side with his comrades to try and win a game of basketball? If I knew nothing else about Isaiah Thomas, that would be enough for me to do whatever it took to keep that guy on my team. Point blank situation. And I just don't get it. You know, the constant conversation around Thomas is whether or not he's ever going to be a good defensive player, whether or not he's ever going to be the team leader that everybody needs him to be. You know, all the way up until Isaiah Thomas got traded and the playoffs happened, there were a lot of people that were saying things like Isaiah Thomas is carrying this basketball team. Isaiah Thomas is doing a lot more with a lot less. And it's amazing to me that Kyrie Irving goes over into basically the same situation in Boston. And all he gets is all this praise. And we're all talking about Uncle Drew and how great he is. And, you know, he's just the guy. And look at what he's doing. And look at how much more intense the guys are playing basketball over there. And they're so great. And they're going to take down the Cavaliers this year. And people just can't wait to see that matchup in the playoffs, hoping that at some point we all get lucky and it's for an Eastern Conference final and all this other stuff. They just can't wait. None of this was Isaiah Thomas's doing, and none of this was his want to. And Isaiah Thomas is probably a little bit bitter, and he has a right to be bitter. You got Paul Pierce over here talking about, hey, look, man, Isaiah Thomas should get a video, but it's not going to be on my night. That's not going to happen. Not when the Cleveland Cavaliers come here, bro. Isaiah Thomas isn't going to get a tribute video on my night. When that is the least that they could do for Isaiah Thomas. And Paul Pierce, above all people, with all the criticism that he's received over his NBA career, and still being as great as he was in leading teams like Washington and others to playoff games and playoff series wins that they really had no business in being in, you would think that people like him would look and go, hey, man, you know what? Isaiah Thomas really has something great coming. No, we didn't get a championship while he was here, but that man gave us his all when his sister passed away in that tragic incident, and he was right here side by side with his guys. And I, for one, am going to be the first one to shake his hand and hug him and congratulate him. That should have been the response. But was it? No. And what is the Cleveland Cavaliers response? And what is everybody saying? I mean, I've already read headlines. The Isaiah Thomas experiment is over in Cleveland. The Isaiah Thomas experiment? What is there to experiment with? Stop acting like you don't know what you're getting with this guy. You are getting a very pretty much classic shooting guard / pretty much classic point guard. No, he doesn't play the greatest defense in the world. So what? There's a lot of guys that don't play defense. Look at the points that are being racked up right now. Golden State's hitting 140 a game sometimes. Get real. I don't want to hear that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, be able to point out some of the guy's flaws that he has in his game. But for the love, I mean, come on. Do we really have to just every time his name gets brought up, well, yeah, he's not the greatest defender in the world, whatever. Yeah, he can shoot, he can score, blah, 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 whatever. I guess we all just forgot, didn't we? And we've all learned in the hardest way that the NBA and any pro sport really is just a business. It is a business, and everybody's making business moves. From the Celtics to the Cavs to the Lakers, they're all just making business moves. And they're all just trying to get this thing for that thing, and maybe they can get this thing later, or hopefully they can get something better out of it in the meantime while he's there. People want to know why athletes have a difficult time in being true to the game that they play in. This is it right here. Well, he's getting a $100 million contract. What's he complaining about? This. Dude, my sister died. And all you want to do is trade me, waive me, disrespect me, act like I never did anything for this community, act like I didn't do anything for this team. All you want to talk about is my lack of defensive skills. Get real. I just don't understand where everybody is sitting on their high horse and just going, you know what, Isaiah Thomas has got to be the problem and we're just going to get rid of him. Doesn't anybody stop to look another direction just once? And now everybody's talking about, LeBron-James is probably packing his bags as we speak. LeBron-James is out of there. This is obvious. LeBron doesn't want to be around. I'm not saying that there's not a part of me that doesn't think that Isaiah Thomas should maybe buck up a little bit and just do what he's got to do and just play basketball. I'm not completely disregarding that. But I think Isaiah Thomas has done that. And I think that the conversations about him, though, are still unjust. I mean, come on. When you really think about it, was Isaiah Thomas looking like he was 100% healthy and ready to go? This is the part of my job that I can say I actually despise the most. Because I feel like I have to stick up for somebody that showed just how much character that they really have, how much drive they really have, how much tenacity they really have, only to hear this constant bagging on somebody that, to me, has done nothing but give you 100% of who he is every single time he's on that court. When is it good enough? When's it going to be enough? We're always talking about guys who get arrested. We're always talking about guys who, allegedly use drugs. We're always talking about all the negative aspects of athletes' lives. And a guy like a Tebow comes along, a guy like an Isaiah Thomas comes along, a guy like a Nick Foles comes along, a guy like a Carson Wentz comes along, And all they get is criticized, man. They're fake, bro. I can see it, man. I can't wait for the day they mess up. Oh, well, this part of their game is flawed, and that part of their game is flawed. I just don't get it. Somebody help me understand. What am I missing here? Are people going to try and tell me that Isaiah Thomas isn't worth his weight? Are people going to try and tell me that, hey, man, all these guys are just about their money? I'm not going to disregard that statement, and I'm not going to be blind to the fact that there isn't guys that play sports and all you have to do is follow the money trail. Come on, look at McGregor and Mayweather right now. All you got to do is follow the money trail, man. Look at Des Bryant. All you got to do is follow the money trail. There are guys that are like, I'm not going to say that there aren't. But because that they know that this side of the business exists, of course, they're trying to look out for their future interest. They're not as blind to it as they once before. And the thing about it is they should have that kind of training. You know, the NBA just had a symposium that I reported on at the beginning of the season, essentially, and they invited 19 collegiate stars to come and basically talk about life in the NBA, life after college basketball, life when basketball doesn't work out, how to make your money, how to assert yourself into the rest of society, how to gain other skills while you're in school, how to, assert yourself in a different way, learn management skills, all that thing. And I think that it's really great that they're doing it. I hope it's not a one-time deal. But the point that I'm making with that is this, is not only not everybody going to be a success, but guys get hurt and they lose their contracts. Some guys really never come back from their injuries. And then you have guys like Isaiah Thomas that because they have some holes in their game, they just get traded here and traded there. And, and everybody thinks that they're getting this great bargain. And then for whatever reason, they act so surprised when he doesn't do some of the things that you expect him to do. Well, you traded for him. You knew what you were getting. You didn't have a scouting report on this guy. You didn't know. How about everybody does their due diligence and then we won't be making, quote, mistakes. And, honestly, Isaiah Thomas has got to be one of the better players in the world. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the NBA. There's, 31 teams in the NBA versus 351 teams in Division I college basketball? Out of the thousands of kids that are playing basketball right now, Isaiah Thomas made it to the NBA and is clearly one of the better players in the NBA. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get the Celtics as deep into the playoffs as he did. What am I missing? Man, I don't know. I hope it works out because, Lonzo Ball, I think, has been overly criticized. A lot of it has to do with his dad, and I get that. And people start looking at his dad, and because of the hype that his dad gave him, we expect this Boz-like hype, or we see this Boz-like hype from back in the day when he came out of Oklahoma. And, if people want to start looking at the stats and the numbers because we're in such a stat-driven society, then why don't you go look at the stats? And you tell me if Lonzo Ball is overrated. Because, honestly, I think with his passing ability, hopefully the LA Lakers will understand how to use Isaiah Thomas, be able to get themselves some wins, and hopefully they'll keep him around and they'll be looking towards next season, where those guys can start building some camaraderie, they can start getting some continuity, those kinds of things that are aspects of the game that I think that we miss out on too much. And we bring it up, but we don't really explain what it means. And I've tried to do that several times on this program. And basically here, what I'm getting at is hopefully the Lakers are not doing this just so that way they can get a trade later out of it. The man with the kind of character that Isaiah Thomas has, the great parts of him that he exudes, that we all want our athletes to carry, and yet for some odd reason, we can only point out and say, he's just not that great defensively. I really hope that this narrative changes. Isaiah, buddy, my heart goes out to you. With everything that is in me, dude. My heart truly goes out to you, pal. And I sincerely hope that you are able to find a home and a team that deserves to have you there.